Right from here onwards, Nathan, this is where you want the video to start. Let's try this again.
All right, Mason, how about you introduce us then?
Nope. Welcome to the F Movie Podcast. I'm your host. It's always me. Always.
Yeah.
Dylan Camacho. And today with me is Mason, Nathan, and always Last Price.
Always.
And they're hosts too, but they don't get to introduce.
He doesn't let us.
I don't. It's
We've
great.
done it before.
Yeah, he waited until I was sick, or like he just leaped in and took it one time. It was our lowest scoring video of all time.
It's not out yet.
Instead of our normal 5 to 10 views, it was around like 2.
I've never downvoted it so fast. It was amazing. Watched the first 5 seconds, downvoted it, left it. That was it. Anyway, Mason, we had a little spooky flick today.
We did. We had a little mistake from last week too. It's not a French horror. It's a Spanish horror.
Correction.
Yeah, it's a shaky cam movie about this apartment complex that gets a virus. And
Well, what movie is it though?
it's called Rec or Record,
It's just wreck.
which is really tough to find. You have to put it into brackets and able to find it.
Did you know that
I
there's
didn't
4
have
other
to.
movies?
I've
of
seen
these?
3 of them.
I didn't know this
I'm
was
not-
a quadrilogy.
I have not seen the 4th
I
one.
only knew that there was a second one.
There's
for
4.
one.
The
4.
second one's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, spoiler. I want to watch more of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
the
curious
third
about
one
the
was
other
not
one.
that good, and
The-
I can't speak for
The
the
fourth one is called Rec 4 Apocalypse.
Oh, that's a bad.
Which is-
Actually,
Look,
could be
No,
much
that
better.
sounds great. That
Yeah.
sounds exactly like
Apparently
what
they're
I
on.
would
Apparently they're on a ship.
That's
That's
a
all I know.
finale title right
Isn't
there.
that just
Yeah.
COVID? Did they film that in the
Yeah.
the cruise ship that was thrown around?
That's Wuhan.
Yeah.
They actually go to Wuhan.
Oh God. All right.
Earlier last year.
Let's not get this political. So anyway,
2020.
here's the synopsis in 5 words or less: virus, apartments, trapped. Oh no.
Big oops.
Big oops.
Bad day to interview.
Bad dog.
And we'll go ahead and get this off the table. So apparently, 2 of us watched this on English dubs, and 2 of us watched it on Spanish subs. And I was one of the ones who, unfortunately, had to watch it with English voiceovers. I was
bad.
not a fan.
Yeah, that's a bad
Like, they did okay with the voice acting for the English, but it didn't, like, the voices did not match what the people looked like at all. Like, they didn't have, like, any kind of Spanish,
connotation, accents, or
accent.
anything.
Yeah.
Like,
That's not like they didn't have any kind of Spanish accent, and they're obviously Spanish, like very Spanish.
Yeah, you absolutely could have done this with a Spanish accent for every voiceover member of the cast. Like that would have been completely reasonable, and that's what I would have expected.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think I found an English dub of it, watched about 5 minutes of it, and was like, I already know I don't want to do this. So
That's a good
I
call.
dug
That's what I
around a little
did.
bit more till I found the Spanish sub.
The very first opening shot, like they start talking, and I immediately sent a Snapchat to them to like, I can't change it. There's no way. Like for some reason, Prime renting it would not let me, and I had to endure that the whole
Jeff
time.
Bezos was on the other side of that console. Just be like, oh, yeah, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
Give me some of that $4.
Yeah, it was. I'll talk really quick on the audio because I rewatched it with the English voice, and I remember thinking like I'd watched the Spanish sub, and like the Spanish sub, and thank
Same
goodness
here.
that was the first time I'd watched it because I was like, whew, it's so much better. And I was watching it this time, and I was like, this wasn't like this before. Like, and I remember at one point I was like, okay, this voice acting is just not lining up at all with the people that they're coming up with to Price's Point. And then it hit the Asian family.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
and it sounded like character,
Really?
Oh, that was awful.
it was borderline racistly bad. Like,
when the girl's talking and like she like, is explaining it to the like reporter or something.
Which was
no,
bad.
my dad's sick. That's
Yeah.
sick. Upsets.
That was
like, oh,
bad in the
God.
Spanish version too, though,
Yeah.
because
It was.
all she kept saying was upstairs, down,
Yeah.
like fall, upstairs, down. And then the reporter kept asking her like what happened? Where did they fall from? And all she kept doing was pointing up and saying upstairs, and
Yeah.
it was pretty rough. But yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, but I would rather have to read it than actually have to deal with hearing the terrible character
Yeah.
voice of it. It was bad. It was
Yeah.
bad. But I don't score the I
no.
don't score the movie based on that audio. I was like,
Same
all right,
here.
that's fine. I know. I just wanted to rewatch it to refresh my mind because I had seen it before and it wasn't that long ago. So I was good with that. But if you go watch this movie and you hear English even once, you turn it off,
Yeah.
and burn it, and then you go find the Spanish sub version. I don't care what you got to do.
You got to really dig for it, I'll tell you.
Yeah, but anyway, into the movie, guys.
So
what do y'all think?
this movie, I know we're gonna get into it later, but it was so short. like
73 minutes.
it's-
or
Yeah,
so
it's just
short.
over an
Yeah,
hour.
It is a pretty quick
I
one.
know, I
It's-
know.
It's a snack of a
Like
movie.
I feel like that needs to be talked about more than what we do in the next segment because like I've never felt a movie as like thin as this one to me. Like because I was really wanting more. Like not character development or anything like that because I think like their characters were fine, especially for a horror movie.
It was short enough to where one of the working titles was length 76 minutes. Like that
believe
was
it.
before they decided on Rec. It was just going to be basically 76 minutes.
I think that's a great idea too,
Yeah.
because this whole movie is meant to be a found footage of a camera crew. So yeah, like that would have been perfect for it to
Yeah.
be released. Just like this is the length of the footage that we found.
Right. I actually like it a bit more after rewatching it with it. I remember thinking like I saw the runtime and I was like, oh my god, is it really that short? And then I watched it and I was just like, no, you felt thin, and I guess we're already
Yeah.
spoiling these answers ahead of time, but I felt it was just right. Like
did too.
I thought that the pacing and what they gave us landed exactly where it landed with. I didn't like. Could they have done a little bit more on like any of the like creepy lore stuff you discover at the end? Sure, but that's usually the parts in horror movies where I'm like, they're explaining it, and I don't like this. I just want to be spooky.
I was wondering what everybody would think about that, because personally, I thought it was really cool that right in the very last second, it's like, oh, things are way weirder than you thought they were.
Yeah.
Like, you thought
Just
this
for
was
this
just like
much time,
virus zombies, but maybe there's demons, which
Yeah.
I think I did read that Rec 2 and onwards actually does make it to be demons instead
It does.
of...
It's a little bit more like religious and stuff, but
Yeah.
not a whole lot. I don't know about the third one was just like a wedding. Like I don't think that the third one actually ties into the second one. The second one ties into the first one really well, but then
Yeah.
the third one was just
A
like
one-off.
in passing. Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's some random
But
wedding.
plus, like the whole 76 minutes thing, like you said, like it does feel fit. I think because like how long do you expect these people to survive? These zombies are either changing in 3 minutes or like 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or some of them even an hour or two. But like once this movie picks up, it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And one process of elimination, obviously, towards the end, they were down to 2, then they were down to 1. It just happens so fast, so it makes sense for it to be pretty short.
Can I say that my favorite character in this whole movie is the stairway?
No. Pablo. Pablo was the real MVP.
All right,
here.
Pablo is
I-
really the people's champ. Yeah.
So
Stairway
I think at
close
some
second.
point we
Yeah.
should probably also bring up Quarantine, because Quarantine is a Hollywood remake
Probably
that
good,
was
yeah.
done of this.
Reshoot
Um,
more is appropriate
Yeah,
for
like
it. Yeah.
it's 90% the same movie.
It's got Deb from Dexter in it.
Yeah. I forgot that was the actor.
The reason I mentioned that is Pablo in Rec, you never ever see him.
You
He
don't.
is the cameraman behind the camera the entire time. I'm almost certain you never see him.
I don't think you see his foot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like at most you see his foot.
Yeah.
Whereas in Quarantine, they had you seeing the cameraman a few times.
Yeah.
She would hold the camera occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even so, there's a exact same shot for shot moment in that where they're like looking up through that little window to see what's going on in the lab once the guys in the hazmat suits show up.
Yeah.
In Rec, she holds the camera too, but she doesn't aim the camera at him.
Yeah.
I think she's just like holding it to the side or something like that.
Yeah.
Rec did a much better job than the Hollywood version of being like, no, this is just people filming. This is definitely found footage, because there's a lot more moments of the camera not being on the subject at hand or like just being off down to the side and stuff. And I think that played a lot better.
Yeah.
Talking about the length of this movie, I think that the fact that there is a shot-for-shot remake makes it kind of easy to really judge, like, would this have been better longer? Because I think Quarantine is a little bit longer.
I think it
and I think
is.
what it adds is mostly unnecessary and, for the most part, not good stuff.
So just to differentiate the two, so Quarantine, I'm pretty sure, was on a $20 million budget, while Rec was on a $2 million budget.
Sounds right.
Quarantine was a built set, while Rec was in an actual apartment complex. Also, there was 3 writers for Rec. One of them did Quarantine. And the other 2 actually voiced their dissatisfaction, is what the trivia said.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
and
all I'll
They
say
shot
about
him.
that. Yeah.
in Quarantine, you can definitely tell that it's a built set. It feels like, the way I would describe it is a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah.
Like
It's still spooky.
seems
But
It's
But it's
not
like-
near so spooky.
maybe, I saw it first. I saw that one first.
And I do think that does color
Yeah, definitely.
my viewpoint because I watched both of them back to back. Because
You
Wreck
sorry soul.
was short,
Yeah.
so like I finished that and I was like, that was great, like that was really interesting.
That's a third of your movie
And I've heard
runtimes
that
usually,
quarantine-
so-
It is.
yeah.
you were ready for your
like,
intermission.
That's
Right.
the thing. Like I'm used to sitting down and watching a movie.
I'm watching an epic.
Excalibur.
Yeah.
So whenever Rec finished up so soon, I was like, I can knock out Quarantine too.
This will be small potatoes.
And yeah, having that immediate side-by-side comparison, the differences were very obvious and very striking. And
Visceral?
Rec does so much more with so much less.
Yeah.
So, if we're gonna go even more into the movie, that camera lady is one of the top people I've disliked in a movie ever. Not
You're
like
talking about like in Rec, right? We're
In
back
Rec.
on Rec
Yeah.
officially.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Painfully selfish, right?
yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, like you all know, like my ex is just like reminded me of her, like exactly,
Don't
like
say it.
especially
Don't
the
say it,
scene where like he is like zooming in on the hazmat people, and she's
Yeah.
like, "What do you see? What's going on?"
Yo,
And
tell
he's
me
like,
what's happening.
Shut up! I'll tell you in a minute.
What happens this movie?
Yeah.
Let me know.
And like he's right there, and like they could easily hear what she's saying, and she
Yeah.
just keeps like screeching, like "Shut up, you stupid idiot!"
Yeah.
But I mean, that does not do anything bad against the movie because I mean that's how normal people would act in that kind of situation.
She'd
but
be,
yeah.
she looks like the type that's. I mean, they paint her
Oh,
very
yeah.
well to be that character. Like, and to her credit, like she
that
never.
the world goes around her.
Right, she never breaks them that way. Even in like a disaster, like I actually like that I dislike her because she didn't try to be like this selfless hero really or anything like that. Like she was so selfish to be like, get this shot. It's camera footage. It's good the entire time, and it's all about.
She said film everything
Yeah.
about 20 times.
Yeah,
Everything.
when he shot that lady, she was like, "Did you get that?"
That was the silliest part of the whole movie for me. Whenever
Wow.
she had it like rewound.
Oh, yeah.
That was a little
okay.
hand-fisted, but like
So
I get it.
that does get cut out of Quarantine.
Oh.
And I get that.
Yeah.
So I would wonder with the working title of, you said it was like length
76 minutes,
or 76. You can't really count that because rewinding that tape
Yeah.
couldn't have actually even happened in the movie if it was found footage.
True. That's a good point.
Wait a minute. Oh no, it's not actual found footage, guys. Ah.
So real quick, do you guys think that this would be a better zombie map than Kino de Toten?
I would like it because it's a bit more like crowded together.
It's
but
very crowded together.
yeah.
There's
But,
no loop.
but Kino's really noob friendly, so you can spread out a little bit. But we don't need to get into that. I'll
Sorry,
play a lot of
this is
zombies.
an ultimate zombie map. Honest to
So
God.
what, like I said in my first part with the favorite character, the stairway being so narrow and everything on this one, right? It does so much whenever you can tell like they're just dragging the guy down. Like I remembered on this rewatch, I was like, oh god, yeah, the stairway. Like it just does such a good job making you feel cramped and stuck in
It
that moment
does.
with it, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. Yeah, like they did such a good job. I'm like, I'm glad with the $2 million budget, they're just like, yeah. This apartment? Oh god, I would hate to be in a zombie apocalypse in this apartment. Let's shoot it here. Like,
Yeah. Well, and like 5 minutes before the end, they just show that pan of like
All the
looking
way
overwards,
down, yeah.
and it's
Oh.
just like 6 zombies, just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
oh.
running on up. Yeah, that part is so sweet. But for all the sweetness, I have to sit here and say, for being a found footage film, it has my number one fucking hate of found footage thing: the nauseous shaky cam.
Oh.
And which is funny. I remember the first time I watched this, I remember like being kind of bothered by it, but it didn't hit me as hard. This time, like I was like, whew, okay, pause for a little bit. And I had to like go away from the screen. I had to go drink water or something, and I was like, all right, maybe it's because I'm getting older. I don't know if this gets worse if I get older, but I was just like, all right, sit back down. Shaky, I got to skip like 10 seconds here past the shake on it, and I'm like, okay, we're good. But some of the action parts were really good about keeping it stable, but, you know, like movement, and other parts were just all over.
You could tell where they wanted to focus on, like that
Right.
old lady biting the cop. Like it was still a little shaky, but they wanted you to see all that
Yeah,
makeup. and
like
they
the
wanted you to
makeup that
see-
they actually
yeah.
put the work in, I'm sure there was like focus. Anything that was like kind of like just spaghetti off or like spaghetti sauce, they're like shake it around. a little
Shake it
bit.
around. They'll never know the difference.
Yeah, they'll never know. It's just gonna look red and gory or whatever. But yeah, that hurt me this time around, and I think that's gonna hit the score just a little bit. But yeah, it's the same thing with like the Paranormals or Blair Witch Projects, any of things in the found footage horror
Cloverfield
category.
original.
Yeah, Cloverfield. I love Cloverfield, but yeah, it had the same problem. Like I remember watching it in theaters, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, because it was big screen. You can't escape it. Like it is so in your
You can't
you're
exit.
trapped, and I was like, god.
So I'll have to say I had two favorite moments of this movie. The first of which definitely being when they're all talking like in the main lobby, and then the person just gets thrown off and hits the floor.
I love
that moment is just so sudden.
Literally no one
Loved
knew
it.
that was going to happen. That's one of the only trivia points that I've brought towards the top. They didn't tell a single soul. They just told it the cameraman just to keep on her. And as soon as that happened, like I think you heard like one scream and one guy like yell or something. That it was to get like the ultimate shot.
It's
But I'll
crazy that
agree.
they
I
actually
definitely
threw a
felt it.
Latino
That
man
was-
off the top for $2 million. They couldn't afford a dummy. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Poor Ricardo or whatever.
That was
his name
Pablo's
was.
brother, dude.
Yeah, I know.
That's why you didn't hear a thing.
That's why he's like genuinely like, no, you gotta leave him be. That's like the script, dude. And he's like, that's my actual brother. This is a $2 million movie.
Yeah. What was your other part, Bryce?
Definitely the last part where she like
Oh, the last shot.
like the last shot where she's like fumbling around in the dark or whatever, and then gets pulled off. Like when I think of Quarantine or Wreck, like that's the shot I think
Yeah.
of. Like it was.
Well, that was
used
like
to-
the cover shot too, right?
It was
like
used
they
like
dropped
the cover
last
shot,
one.
like is in all the promotional stuff,
Yeah.
but still, that still sticks with me when like. Just that, like, terrifying. I couldn't even imagine that, like, being stuck in the pitch black dark with, like, this demon thing.
With this 40-pound,
Yeah.
6-foot-tall being for whatever reason.
With-
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
John his
honest.
hands.
She just looks like a really old lady.
Yeah.
You
like-
thought so? I thought she was terrifying. It showed her hands, and it was
Well,
like
yeah, they were longer
the
than
hands
real
also
weird.
creepy.
Ooh.
Whenever,
I could take
whenever I was,
I could absolutely, in a moment like that, I feel like you could take down a 70-pound.
If we buttered you up like the greased up deaf guy, maybe you
I'll do
could.
it. I'll do it if it helps the
Couldn't get
situation.
a grip on you. Just sliding out.
so
Yeah,
whenever
don't
I
touch
was
me.
very young, I met my great grandmother.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
She looked like that.
Oh.
Very skeletal. Very much just like skin hanging on bone.
And Nathan was like, and I took her out real easy. Like, I won that fight 10 out of 10 times. Yeah.
RKO.
Grandma, you will go to sleep or I will put you to sleep.
We're doing Happy Gilmore next?
Let's
Is that what
do
you're
it.
picking?
No, I'm not picking up.
Aw,
I
man.
do. That is Ben Stiller's best role, in my honest opinion, though.
Tropic Thunder.
The only
Nah,
other
too
point
close.
that I feel
Tropic
like we
Thunder.
should talk about, and we were talking about this off camera, was like
Tropic
the mic and like the audio editing for this movie. I thought was like really good.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
at least in the Spanish version, like the mic I guess was up on top of the camera the whole time, and every little shimmy of the camera, every little like bump it had, like it took the audio out, and it would almost like. I mean, you're more of an audio guy as far as the like what the
You
mics
are
do.
AV dude, so you should have an
Yeah.
opinion on this one.
It affected it with everything that it did, and
Yeah.
it felt real. It felt,
Well, I don't know if your all's version, like it seems like
English
we
did.
all have maybe
a little
different
different
versions.
Yeah.
In mine, there was like also a background humming that seemed to be going on through a lot of it.
Oh,
I
he
don't
was
know
just
if
nervous.
you
Maybe your
like.
Bluetooth
I
was
felt
on.
like that was maybe like I'm pretty sure I was actually hearing that from the movie. And it seemed like it was there to just like keep you on edge
Maybe.
and keep you feeling a little bit tense because that's kind of what I was getting out of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the audio mixing with this was very very good, really on point. So much of this is just like the right way to do a found footage movie.
Yeah.
Like they nailed it on so many of the aspects of it. Like it doesn't really at any point pull you out and make you think this is just some Hollywood made movie.
Yeah.
Which I do keep bringing up Quarantine. I did watch it. Man, the set looked so fake. It really looked like it was like it's like they had taken sets from like Law and Order or some kind of
Yeah.
TV show and
They
were
probably
just
took it from
using
Dexter. They were
that.
just
Yeah.
shuffling her around
Yeah.
at that point. So.
And so many things about the Hollywood version take you out. Like the way that the cameraman is like zooming in and out on different people and stuff like that. Like that was not happening
At
in Wreck.
Wreck. Yeah.
Like the only times you saw him zooming in were times that would make sense where he's like trying to see something
Yeah.
like in that room or he was watching
The doctor.
the
and
doctor working on the injured people and all that kind of stuff. Like they nailed it.
Yeah.
Like they really, really did.
Speaking of nailing it, can we talk about the sledgehammer? Like just donking
Dude, she
Manuela
just
or
booped.
whatever?
She got booped.
Yeah, she got boop bumped on that. I remember like once I got to that part, I was like, I was a little nauseous right beforehand, but then I was like, ugh.
Well, like this movie too. I mean, I think it did really well with the zombies. Obviously, they didn't know what zombies were. That's
Yeah.
what I like about this too. This was around the time that a lot of zombie stuff was coming out. They were kind of a trend, and they kept to this whole like, oh, it's a virus. We're not sure why they're cannibalistic and they're coming back from the dead and they're chasing us at rapid speed and
This
they're
could be rabies.
bloodthirsty. And it
Well,
was.
so quarantine.
And it was in quarantine.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
quarantine it's rabies.
Right.
Which, like, I don't know. I like movies like that too that aren't. I don't know. It's a simple step. You just don't mention the Z word. You know.
If you don't mention it, you assume they've never existed in the world. But then it's the ones that do, which like Zombieland and stuff like that, which
Well,
makes so much fun.
so there's also the conflicting thing in zombie movies of if you're in our world, like if you're saying that this is set in our reality, we know about zombies.
We have to. Yeah.
we are
like-
incredibly aware of zombies.
Our whole culture is inundated with zombie media. Like we
Thanks to the
know
last,
what
you know,
zombies are.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, maybe because the characters were so like it didn't bother me so much, but it's like to some degree, it's like somebody there probably would have said the Z word, would have thought the Z word. I
Yeah.
mean, they certainly were acting like them,
Yeah.
but nobody ever really acknowledged that.
Yeah.
And I mean that's fine, but
Yeah.
I just feel like that's something that you've always got to be careful with whenever you're making a zombie movie and you're saying that it's set in our time.
Yeah.
It's like we know, we're not dumb.
We're not
Most people
stupid.
know.
I'm telling you, the South can't wait for it. Like,
Yeah.
they have
they're
their
ready.
guns ready. They've been biding their time. I can't wait until Jim next door turns
608.
into a zombie. Yeah, exactly. like I've been waiting to kill Jim for a long time. Just gotta wait for the zombies to get him.
Well, they gave us the purge, which is kind of
Yeah, that's
enough.
true.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I was gonna say the one thing I didn't like about it is that sometimes the timing's a little bit too on the nose. Part I think in particular would definitely be when the hazmat suit guy's giving the exposition or whatever that like,
Yep.
hey, we had
Oh, it's your favorite parts of movies?
we had when it's like here, yeah, feed this dum dum. When he's like, yeah, we had a dog come in, his name was Max, and they're like, oh, that's your dog. And he's like, no, she's got a virus. She's not anything. and then bites her on the face.
Yeah.
Like that's a heck of a time to do that. Like, of
agree.
course, that's when it's gonna happen. That's the only really part I kind of roll my eyes
the
at.
other part.
I do agree that part kind of took me out a little bit because I was like that.
Just
why?
attacked her
She-
face.
Why right
I was
now?
like, she literally
No.
just looked fine. Like,
I'll one up you. I'll one up you. The other part that's even worse
Oh,
than
come at
that
me.
is when the hazmat suit guy is like locked himself in that little barrier.
Oh, God.
And then that
Oh.
tenant guy was like, "Listen, there's a basement key. There's this. It's in this little quadrant. You just got to get it."
yeah, if you
and
just look
like,
in this one spot, you'll find.
Yeah, he gave you this much information, and you needed this much, and he almost delivered it all. But
just
then he got
tell us
got.
the rest. Stop screaming.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a little hand-fisted at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and also how she has this like whole janitor's set of keys, and like
happens to get the right.
the
one.
Literally the
first
second
try
one.
was it the second one?
I don't know. She was like, she was fumbling through.
And
But yeah,
they didn't have a second to spare with
They
the zombie there
No, the
behind her.
horde
But
stairwell,
of course,
Dylan's favorite.
Oh, bro.
Of course, I
So
mean,
good.
yeah, the stairwell.
Best character.
So,
Putting in work.
In quarantine, she does say something about how it's probably the oldest key or
Yeah,
something
it's
like
the old
that.
looking one. Yeah.
That would make sense because like the keyhole's really big.
Yeah.
Penthouse.
It would be kind of obvious.
I mean, if we all watched Harry Potter, the first one, then you should know. Or, no, the second one. No, first one. So, first one, when they go through the challenge and you see all the keys with wings on it, and there's the one with the little broken wing. They just need to find the broken wing key.
I think that this is a little bit of like a cheesy fact, but they said that Price, that other thing that you mentioned, whenever they were up in that penthouse and the lights were all off, they actually filmed that in the dark and they had never been in there. So it made their reactions like
Right.
that
Oh.
much more.
These poor
real.
actors.
I know,
Like
right?
we're gonna do a bunch of stuff to you.
You're gonna get
Just
dragged.
roll with it.
Now, listen,
We
I don't
don't
know
know
if you
where.
guys are method actors, but we're method directors. We're going to put you into it.
Those poor people lived there.
Yeah.
They actually
Yeah.
lived there, and they just came in and started filming it.
That They actually nailed that one older woman with a sledgehammer. That's bad. Just to clarify the shape of the movie, we already kind of gave our things, but let's just rehash it just for the sake of order on this one. So
I think it was fit.
Fit.
I wouldn't want much more because then they would start drawing things out that I wouldn't want. I don't expect them to make it out of this scenario. They are locked in there with like M4s pointed at them. Like
I'm pretty sure
even
she
if-
makes it out.
even if they were
Legit.
to break out, shut up. Well,
No, I really think she does.
I think in the second one, if I'm not mistaken, if she does make it out, it's she has been infected, but for whatever reason, she's like in the middle of the process.
That could be it. But she makes it out.
because I'm pretty sure that the fireman might find her. That's not a spoiler. 'Cause I'm
Fireman
not-
is a zombie.
No, I meant the next.
Other,
the
the
second
next
one.
crew of firemen. In the
Oh,
second
more firemen?
There's
Yeah.
well, it's
Man,
the
this woman knows how to
SWAT
pick 'em.
team or
Yeah.
the police department. Anyways, I give it a fit. I don't want a whole lot more from this movie. I think it did it really well with what it had.
Yeah, same. I mean, I said it pretty clearly on that one. I don't think I'd want anything else because I don't trust them to not add stupid stuff in from this point forward. This movie is
You don't
right
trust
fit.
him.
I don't. Like, I trust you to make this movie on $2 million and
Literally
ruin your
$2
actor's
million.
mentality throughout the whole film and everything like that. But the more you give me, the more I'm gonna dislike this film. Probably.
I know if you keep throwing money at a movie, it'll just become shorter and shorter. Like if you give it $1 billion, it'll just wind up being like this really short.
This movie was shorter than that, I want to say. And if it wasn't, it felt it.
Okay, I will backtrack a bit on my shape of the movie. I will still say I still feel like it's a bit thin. I would say it's fit thin for me. I would just like a bit more of them, just like maybe running around in the stairway of doom or something. I still would have liked some more of that, but I don't want any more on the characters. Don't need to know any more about them. It's a horror movie. They don't need a very deep background. They're cannon fodder anyway.
Yeah.
So
They're meat ready to be shredded. That's it. Like,
pretty much.
Yeah, this movie's absolutely fit. It's perfect. It's
Perfect.
Nothing needs to be added. Nothing was put in there that shouldn't have been. I mean, there's little issues, like you said, with the timing of a couple of the events, but I don't know. I mean, maybe you could like give it a minute or two space if you wanted to add
I
time,
don't
but
remember any like last minute.
it's fine. It does what it needs to do, and it does it very well.
well, without further ado, let's get into those juicy scores.
Play that on auto tune. We beg you.
Nathan, I'll let you start.
Gosh, I
on
think
that.
I'm gonna give this thing a 9.
Woo!
I thought this movie was very good. Like I enjoyed it quite a bit. I mean, that's why I immediately hopped into Quarantine, because I was like, I want to know, how Hollywood does
What
it.
the hell they're talking about?
Oh, I
and
regret
just
it.
how much they can botch a perfectly good premise.
Can I ask your score on Quarantine? On file.
Like a 6.
Okay, that's fair. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Nudge,
right.
nudge.
Yeah, I guess it's my turn. So, as you all know, like I'm not too big a fan on horror. It's never been one of my genres. But growing up, we did watch like a couple, and there's always been two that have stood out in my mind. The first Paranormal Activity, I was young enough, and for some reason, that kind of horror is the kind that like scared me more than anything.
Those ones are sweet.
Also, like
are.
zombies and stuff, and Quarantine and Wreck were also like I kind of lumped them together. Those were the two-ish horror movies that like I liked when I was little, and Wreck still holds up. And Quarantine, you're probably right. I haven't watched it in a long, long time, so I'll definitely take your opinion on that. But Wreck, I had a really good time with. We've watched many horror movies on here before, and I have not liked them.
Shit.
Sinister,
3.
Still too spooky. I'm not gonna watch it. Like when he makes it back to the house, he's like, "Oh yeah, you just did exactly what it wanted to do." I was like, "Nope, I'm done. Nope, don't want to see what happens to him. He's fine."
I've seen enough of these little tapes.
But Wreck, it's got a good length for it. I mean, it's even though I said it's thin, I mean 70 minutes is not bad at all, and I liked everything about it. None of it looked cheap. The only thing I really didn't like was the English voice acting, but that was more my problem than the movie's problem. Actually, it's more Amazon's problem than anything.
You Amazon.
Yeah,
It's Bezos' problem.
yeah, exactly. So I am going to give this movie 7.5. I really enjoyed this movie and always have. So 7.5 for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna land. Strangely, I'm gonna land right on a 7 this time. This movie was definitely higher on the first time I remember watching it. I enjoyed it, and I cannot express how much I love the runtime on this film. It was definitely a 7.5 on the first run through when I first watched it back in the day. It's just short of being like a super great film. I mean, this is a good film. It does exactly what it needs to, but it also isn't like anything super extra or above. It wasn't like horrifically terrifying if it wasn't anything like that. It was just good terrifying. It was good. It's a good movie. But the rewatch gave me motion sickness in a harsh way, man. And
You get car sickness just driving for like an hour.
I do. Now, if I drive, it's fine. If I'm riding, it's terrible. But
Sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I have to hit it for that one.
Mm-hmm.
As I get older, my score is going to fluctuate. The more I get more motion sick, the more less
This
I
is
can
not
watch
gonna
this
appeal
movie.
to you,
Yeah, the less
Yeah.
I could possibly watch this movie. Which again, the runtime's great, but I'm not going to put it down into the 6 category because I just don't think that it's a 6 movie. It definitely stays a 7.
Don't watch Cloverfield then.
Oh boy, I want to go back and
That'll
watch it,
make
but
you
it's going to make me
puke
so
everywhere.
sick.
It's not a good movie.
No, Cloverfield's a good
like it.
movie. The whole everything but the space one has been good so far. But anyway, I'm going to go with a 7 on this one.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna land at an 8.5. I love pretty much anything horror, and I feel like jump scariness. This one is very good at what it does. I mean, if it's not captured on camera, it's captured with these like C grade actors, if you even want to call them that. I think that they do it really well in the amount of time, and plus, like, whenever I can pick a horror movie that even gets somewhat of decent reviews from these guys,
True.
like, I'll take it as a win, even if it's, whatever. But I don't know. It made me want to watch more horror movies after this one, which also is a good benefit. Kind of like you, Nathan.
Oh yeah.
But I will say, I watched Quarantine way back in, like, 2008 or 2009. Loved it. Absolutely. The 17-year-old me just absolutely loved that movie. And
should
it was a couple
rewatch it.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will.
You should really break those
At
rose
one
tinted glasses of
point,
yours.
it was a two-way tie between The Strangers and Quarantine were my 2 favorite movies of the horror.
Stranger
genre.
still holds up.
Strangers is good. I
Yeah,
watched that one. But yeah, then I had to watch Wreck, and I will admit that it is a better film for what it does. But yeah, that's all I give it, 8.5. So
Cool.
I just thought maybe I am a fan of horror.
I doubt it.
Thanksgiving is a horror movie, right?
No,
outta here.
it's not. It's not.
There's blood.
It is. It is.
It had more blood than this one.
It's a mockumentary of horror, essentially.
It's horror. I'm in. I'm a horror buff.
Here's the thing.
That doesn't make him a horror buff.
Sinister, Raw,
Nope.
this movie,
Paranormal.
Yep.
and 10 Cloverfield Lane.
10 Cloverfield Lane.
Those are my 4.
10
good.
10 Cloverfield
Yeah,
Lane's
I
great,
really
but that
liked
one's
it.
thriller. I won't give it
Until the
that.
last
that's
10
thriller
minutes.
horror.
And then it's sci-fi.
Until the
thriller.
last 10 minutes.
And then it's sci-fi thriller.
I will still scream about that. She like jumps into the alien's mouth or something. Like
Sweet time.
it goes so off the rails.
Spoilers for 10 Cloverfield Lane.
We've already
Yeah.
watched that. If you're up to this point, you've been in for a while.
And you're our hero.
Maybe they're just hopping in today.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
We're jumping into our last movie of this session, right?
Yeah.
Not of the season, just of this four-week
Aw.
rotation. So,
Yeah.
Dylan,
we have got a Tom Hardy movie because I had to do it. I had to do it. It's been too long. We've gone 4 weeks without a Tom Hardy movie.
talking about how many scary movies versus how many Tom Hardy fucking movies.
Oh,
we've seen.
man.
Good question.
If I could keep skewing the line, that's the power to it. But this is going to be a fun little drama called Bronson, about the story of Charles Bronson, Britain's, I think,
Who is
notorious criminal.
I
Yeah.
didn't know
It
that.
was a
So
boxer.
is this another gangster movie?
Not necessarily.
Oh, it's a gangster movie.
It's not at all a gangster movie in the way that Legend is a gangster movie. Like, it doesn't feel like a Scorsese film. This is like
Neither was
he
Legend.
he happens to just do illegal stuff is more appropriate to say.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
not the same. But tune in next week for Bronson on that one. If you like our comments and all that stuff below,
Then
Put
do
those
that.
both into one.
whatever, you know what to do with this video. Hit that sub button, hit the thumbs up button, hit the comment button, and tell us what you think about Price's stupid face. That's our show.
Bye.
He gave us a high score. Even though Mason gave me one of his lowest scores. The
The movie was weird.
movie was perfect.
There you are,
Solid 8.5.
in the water.